Yeah, so I think you described this to me quite a few years ago, before it was much off the ground. And it sounds similar. I would say your elevator speech has gotten better, but there are also probably things that have changed, maybe, or things that you've learned.
Sure. Yeah.
What are some of those things that have changed or that you've learned along the way?
One is evangelism. So I really believe in this topic, this thing. Like, I quit my job, took a huge pay cut, all that. But evangelism only goes so far. What I've learned is you have to meet people where they are, and Americans are in a certain place in their mind about what's good. And so what I've learned is sometimes you have to listen to the donor and not simply just ram down the donor's throat your vision. And there are times when a Western mindset might work in places like Sierra Leone or Mozambique. It might be a good thing. I'm sometimes so anti-American colonialism, whatever we want to call it, that you lose the opportunity to really do something good. And so I've learned a lot of that. The elevator speech is one thing, but reality is another. And I'm learning to live with that. The other thing, Herman, the big thing is that the field workers, what I'm learning from their experiences, and this is really important, is cultural differences are less important now. Globalism is a real thing. It's not kind of a thing. It's not something that's theoretical and in a textbook, man. There's a dominant culture emerging. And now check this out. In Kaiolan, in a Mende village, in Mozambique, in a Karane village, in a Makawa village, in Georgia, in Guatemala, in a Mayan village, in Appalachia, there's a common culture that's emerging, and it's emerging out of the smartphone, and it's real. And when you hear people talking about it, cultural writers and stuff, man, we see it. It's not made up. It's real. Can I pick up one more thing on that real quick?
Yeah.
In terms of globalism and sort of this, I don't know, techno culture, this grand culture, even that may have some things that we should embrace, some cultural, advantages that we should embrace. But it's so faceless and it's so consumer driven that once it settles into a culture, the traditional culture, it really doesn't have much of a chance to fight back. There isn't a moment right now where young people have recognized this is happening to them. And they can't know once the phone gets introduced. It's really fascinating. And it's not doom and gloom. I'm just telling you, it's real. It's like really real. It's a real thing. Yeah. Teenage rebellion. So that's a really fundamentally Western experience. I want everybody to know that. And I can give, there's stories I can tell you, but it's also real because if you just think about culturally, for instance, with the Bambara, the goal is to look back. The very notion of progress in traditional Bambara culture, this is in Mali, the very notion of progress is not a real thing. Progress is to return to what brought you here. So progress is to become like your grandfather or become like Sundiata. It's to go back is what progress looks like. It's not like there's going to be a better version of you in 20 years. That's not just, teenagers don't talk like that. But guess what? Once that concept gets introduced through this global culture, this globalism, now you have an opportunity for a teenager to actually regret what they've been given because they imagine themselves as able to become better in the sense that they imagine themselves as being able to change who they are. You see, when I was in Mali, it wasn't that kids didn't have teenage rebellion. They couldn't imagine, they didn't understand it as a telos. Yeah. I'm going to a higher place or a better me. That's very Freudian modern stuff, man. And now you start to see teenage rebellion in West Africa.
Yeah. So as a follow-up question, I have, if you want to get into some of the different initiatives, and then the criteria, and I think you've already kind of touched on the criteria, but I don't know if you want to flesh either of those things out anymore.
I'll keep it quick. How about that? So right now we have what you're asking, and what your question implies is an initiative. So we have had right now, I think there's 18 folks who have created the initiative, local folks in these. We work in four places: Appalachia, Guatemala, the Highlands, Momostenango, West Africa, and the Georgian Republic. These are places we've been invited. We've been invited to Mozambique in 222, and we're recruiting right now. Someone wants to give me a call. In those places, people have initiated and have demonstrated this enzyme we were talking about for really cool projects. And so there's 18 of those people that we're working with. You can find them on the website. And so what do they look like? Well, they vary. I mentioned the Catholic Church one. That's not one of our projects right now. It could become. But we have a honey wholesaler project where some guys make really, really good honey, but they're really far from any clear markets where they can sell their goods. So we're helping them connect. There's a children's hospital project. There was a Mayan school project in this really cool village that had been destroyed by the Civil War. And so there's variations on that because there's variations on the kind of people and the kind of projects they want to do. So one of the things, you shouldn't see a uniformity in our projects because it would imply that we're choosing. What we want to do is choose people, not projects. So the people we choose have a uniformity. They're similar in the same way, in that they're courageous. They don't leave. When you got to realize, guys, in the global South or in the developing world, most people, you and I, would leave. Once we start to see a shrinking opportunity window, we leave. And so people who stay are one or two things. Either they're just holding on and they're sad, or they're badass. They don't want to leave because they love where they're from and they want to do what's right. But in a shrinking shrinking society like that, the isolation starts to make the creativity harder and harder, because we know that creativity, it really always takes two. You can have all the right ideas, but you need someone always to work with. So we try to become the outside agent for their creative change. It's necessary for that. It's necessary. We always say, no good society, no good community works when it's only the bottom. Like, it's not the right terminology, but we'll use it. All poor people, all working together, they're still poor. That's how it works. And all wealthy people, all working together, they don't have any way where to exercise their wealth. There has to be some connection, one to this. That's true in honest health in a community, right? And so what we're trying to do is offer some of those people who stuck around because they love their community. And, we know guys in Guatemala that were ready to leave, but we're trying to talk to them about, well, let's try your project out. And so we try to move resources and capacity there. So if we have all the same kind of projects, what it means is we've been trained in a certain type of development that we're offering to people. That's fine. That's just not our style. We go the other way around. We go as people with consulting and facilitation skills, and then we find the people and they tell us which project to help them on. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.